was our plan for victory here as far as you're concerned?
Look, I think starting out, at least from the U.S. perspective, the idea was first to deter Putin from invading. Once he invaded, the idea was to weaken him and cause him to decide relatively quickly that it wasn't worth the effort and to retreat. With good reason, people in the United States and in many other countries want to make sure that we stop Vladimir Putin. He's a bad guy. He's someone who has ambitions that aren't good. And so everyone sees in him this bad person, which he is, who could do a whole lot of bad things. The problem is, I think we're long past the moment where what we're doing is going to do anything to stop him from aggressing. If anything, we've made it worse. We've driven him into the arms of China. And that loving embrace, that alliance that's resulted from it, economically, with energy, in many respects, ultimately, I think militarily, that could create a much bigger problem than existed prior to the beginning of this war. And so, look, he is a bad guy. I wish he would go away, but I'm not sure that the U.S. involvement in it is necessarily going to inure to the benefit of the American people. And I think we've lost sight of that precisely because of the factor you described. I don't think there is a coherent, cogent game plan and end result of peace that we're trying to get at. Nor do I think that what we've done so far has brought us peace. Quite to the contrary, it's continued the effort.
Okay, so you brought up the China argument. So here's a way of conceptualizing that. I mean, China has its problems, to say the least. They're facing a demographic collapse. Their real estate market is, to call it shaky, is to say almost nothing. They're actually facing, by Chinese standards, quite the rebellion on the home front. I mean, things don't look that bright for the Chinese Communist Party. And having them ally with Russia, I would say, seems to be something that could be in their favor economically, because it gives them access to the immense resources of Russia. And if you think China is a good ally of the West, then you've got another thing coming. Anything that's done to help them survive in their current form, the CCP, in particular the Chinese Communist Party, is definitely not in our best interest. So having Russia establish an alliance with China that helps China limp along into the future, I mean, that's a country that supports North Korea, which is about all you need to say about the Chinese Communist Party. And so that seems like a dim-witted strategy in the long run, especially because China is at least as much of a threat. Now, it's more of a threat in any reasonable sense than Russia should be. I mean, talk about systems out of alliance. We're not allied very well with the Russians, philosophically, let's say, but we are absolutely not aligned with the Chinese. So that seems like a preposterous endeavor. And it's an uneasy alliance between the Chinese and the Russians. It's not a natural alliance. We'd really have to force both the Chinese and the Russians into a corner in some real sense in order for them to be able to hammer out something approximating an agreement. So that seems rather dim-witted. So, and then let's also